Hello, here we are once again with Mookie Tenembaum. We are exploring, as you know, through these videos, his philosophy, his disillusionism, and in particular, the misalgic theory that explains human behavior through aversion to suffering. As you know, we, for years now, month after month, been trying to illustrate and to describe these rather complex, abstract concepts with facts from everyday life. We've even covered the news at times following the COVID-19 pandemic, following the war in the Ukraine. Today, we are going to address one of the many confusions that disillusionism analyzes. I dare to say it's a central matter for the whole philosophy, and it's the confusion between the individual and the collective. It's the mixing up of what's personal, what's mine, and what belongs to a set, to what belongs to a society of sorts. So we are going to do a deep dive, short deep dive into that, because it's very important for understanding disillusionism.
Well, when we spoke about confusion, when we speak about confusion, first let me unconfuse the term itself. Confusion has two possibilities. I am confused. I have directions, and I am confused. I have to go right or left. And then there is the confused. You are not aware you are confused. Yes? Suddenly you realize, hey, I was confused. You don't know you are confused while it's happening. I'm talking about the second case. We're not talking about the first one. Okay, there is no conscious confusion going on. It's not unconscious, but it is already inbuilt in the way we think, in the way we sleepwalk, in the way we interact with others. Okay. Now, the confusion we're going to talk about is the collective versus individual. Individual, everybody knows. I don't think there is something that needs to be explained. But when we speak about collectives, we have several possibilities. I have excluded in this video, we have excluded it on purpose, anything that has to do with one of the two. The egosphere, those people who are around you, your family, your close family, your close friends. I'm not going to speak about them. That kind of collective is really not a collective. In the way its collectiveness is much less important than the individuals that confirm it. It's very simple. Yes, your brother, he's a brother, but he's not because he's your brother. He's your brother. Your relationship, the person, the individual there, his brotherhood. I don't know how you would call it. His brotherhood is smaller than the individual part. We're talking when individuals stop being identifiable or very identifiable. Then you have the other side, in which we are not going to speak, is about those collectivities, those places where there is a collective that has already institutions, that is already a collective by itself. There is somebody who can speak in the name of the collective, the state, religion, those we call them illusions. We are not going to speak about them. We're going to speak about those collectives in which we include ourselves, yes, or we feel we are included ourselves, and that has no institutions. For example, the Ravens. You are talking about football, American football. If you are with the Eagles or the KC Chiefs, whoever you like. I don't think it's the KC Chiefs. The Kansas City, whatever, for the Super Bowl on Sunday. So you like somebody, you are part of that collective. You are part of the black men collective. I'm a part of the theoretically of the Jewish people collective, and that happens really only to me. There is no collective on the other side. There is not the organized one, not the organized kind and the unorganized kind. Both of them don't exist. These ones are really only in my brain, and it's in common with others. So these are what I'm going to speak about collectives. It took me some time to explain it, but it's very important not to be confused, Florencio. Because imagine if this video will confuse people, that would really not be a good thing. So to unconfuse these things, first of all, what is a collective? Now we're going to speak about what are the forces that send me towards that collective, and what are the factors that makes me get away from the collective, feel more individual. The model I suggest is an astronomical model. There is a planet and there are satellites, natural or artificial. The place where the satellite is, the orbit, is exact the balance between two forces. The centripetal forces, the forces that send it to the center, to the planet, in this case will be the laws of Newton, and the gravity, and the other forces, the forces that tended to take it out of the orbit, which are called centrifuge forces. Centripede and centrifuge forces. It's a very difficult word, but basically the one that goes here and the one that goes there. So what are the forces? And we'll go through first to the ones that send us in. So the first one I would say is empathy. But empathy, not really in the word. That means feeling what the other ones feel. First of all, the first thing I will do, I will be part of a collective that looks like me, or that has something with me in common. Yes, I'm not part of a collective of insects, apparently. Yes, so that will not work for me. Then I will have to go to say, okay, I'm a Jew, or I'm black. Yes, I'm part of that collective. Now that's not enough. These people have two arms, two legs, they speak, so I'm part of that collective because physically I look like them, but also because I think I can know how they feel. It's much easier for me to feel what it feels to be black, which is an interesting question depending where. Yes, in Africa, in the United States, when. So, but that feeling, that attraction has to do with, makes me feel that I can feel what he feels or she feels. And when that happens to me, I get closer. I'm more part of the collective. The second one I suggest is guilt. Yes, if you are planning to do something that will be anti-collective or not collective enough, guilt will push you in. That means misalgically, you're running away from suffering. To run away from the suffering of guilt, you will try to be part of the collective. The second, the third thing is practical. It's the need for guarantees. You know, the other people are there and they can help you in the case of in problematic cases. This works very well when you feel weak. Yes, when you feel strong, it's a different story. But when you feel weak, you tend, in general, to be part of the collective. And the guarantee part, it is the practical issue that it could be part of your sleepwalking. You don't have to make a decision. I need guarantees. It is already, as I said, this confusion is ingrained in our sleepwalking, in our everyday. Then you have memory. You need memory to be very part of a collective, because then your memories, you remember when we were children, the younger children of my generation used to play football with a paper ball, whatever. That memory will provide nostalgia. Yes, all that kind of stuff. Terror of death, of course. Yes. And then maybe, together you'll die less or later or not, whatever. Yes, depends on the collective. Yes, maybe you are part of the immortal collective. Then, of course, every emotion, positive emotion, negative emotion may or may not take you out of a collective, maybe to another collective. Remember that collective, you can change collective. You may feel today Jewish, and tomorrow you may feel I don't know, Buddhist, or you may feel from the angry people to the happy people. I don't know. They are temporary collectives, of course. And finally, defensive mimicry. That means you are part of a big thing, like, again, going back to the tendency of being part of a pack. Remember, we were part of a pack, Florence. We come from a pack. 10,000 years ago, or 28,000 years ago, we were moving in packs. We were not sitting in front of a light and television and talking. So, but it's the same person. If you comb him a little bit, take off his beard or whatever, just a nice shirt, and that's it. And you are part of that. So that tendency to be part of a pack, it's also part of if there is a, think of a lion who is attacking the pack. We are many. If there are 30 animals in the pack, I have less chances of being eaten. So all this. So Florencio, now it's your turn because I have spoken for a long time.
I
found myself.
I'm following you. Of course, I get this evolutionary idea that genetically we are still that same gregarious animal that our ancestors were. But I can see how you distinguish in this multiplicity of causes that draw us towards the collective. I would say more sentimental, emotional, irrational, instinctive causes like guilt and emotion and feeling and empathy. And then there are, I would say, pragmatical aspects to it. As you said, there's strength in numbers. Sometimes you get lost in a crowd and avoid danger. So I see how these two types of factors, I would say, pull towards the center of the collective. But you mentioned this in the beginning. I want to ask you about the opposing forces, the one that draw us away from the confusion and the collectivization.
Well, the ones that makes us less confused, at least our behavior shows less confusion. Okay, so I would tell you that there are the following. The first one is pain, suffering. There's nothing more individual than suffering. We spoke about it so many times. Once you understand that in disillusionism, misalgia is the aversion of suffering, it's not a collective thing done. Everyone runs from suffering, maybe at the same time, maybe with the same plan, but each one pays in suffering his own price. And it could be the same thing causing different suffering to different people. In fact, even at the same time. So that makes you immediately, and in fact, it draws you to hurt. On the other hand, fear, which is another kind of suffering, different than pain, fear will throw you, will be a centripetal. Towards the other, but not pain. Then interest, your economical interest. Yes, the richer you are, the less you feel part of a collective, because you don't need it. Of course, there is that feeling. Our tendency is outside. Incredibly enough, there is a strong tendency to be yourself. There's a story, a Jewish story, the old Jewish story of a rabbi who comes to ask from a millionaire for a donation, and the guy doesn't want to give him the money, and he stalls. So the rabbi says, why should I give? He says, look at the window. What do you see? He says, I see people. Now look at the mirror. What do you see? I see myself. Look how a silver lining changes the way you see things. And it's exactly that. Yes, that was told so people will give money. In this case, I'm neutral. I don't care. Yes. But I'm not telling it for that reason. But the description is, it still works. Oblivion. And in general, you tend to forget certain things when you feel safe, when you feel growing, when you feel, why do I have to carry all this ballast with me? Yes, it starts changing. Sometimes in your egosphere, which is unrelated to what I'm saying, but the parts of the collective in general, sometimes you still want to impress the collective, but that's another story. And then you have relief and pleasure, of course, very personal feeling, and most importantly, thought. When we are thinking at that 5% of the time we are awake, which is really very little during the day, that time you are an individual. Thought is very individual, as it is suffering, as it is the rest of the thing. Florencio, tell me, what do you think about this?
No, I didn't want to interrupt you, but we usually refresh a few basic tenets of disillusionism in these videos. There is one about things as they are that has to do with analyzing confusions. We've been at it for a while now, but there's this other one that I think is important to remember here, that it's about how people say all kinds of things. And I wanted to ask you about that idea of declamation, of just words out of our mouth, as how it plays here. Because maybe some of us are confused, are truly sleepwalking as part of a collective. Maybe some of us, on account of all these advantages you've been describing, we're just saying, we are just posing as if we were feeling part of a collective. So I think it's another interesting distinction to introduce here between those who are actually fused in a collective and those who are just claiming to be, for all the practical advantages you've been describing.
Well, the declamation part has two sides. One side is tell everybody, I'm not dangerous. So I'm part of your collective. I'm not dangerous. Even tell to your egosphere, or I would say one more generation closer to your egosphere, closer people, that you are not dangerous. Why do you need to do that? Because of what people call sociopaths, and really psychopaths with a new name, are the people who will be always trying to get away from the collective, but since this is frowned upon a lot, they have to do like they are part. They have to pay the price, to sacrifice and say whatever it's needed. They don't have a problem to say whatever they need. The only problem is that they normally exaggerate. Yes, you know them. But the first thing you have to do is, I'm not a sociopath. This is where the first things are being checked on people. The second part has to do with you listen to yourself. When I talk, when I declare, I am really part of the audience. So that reinforces. I'm trying to reinforce something for any reason. Now, all this is done mostly when you sleepwalk. There is no really thought. I'm not thinking about trying to woo this, nothing. It just goes through. The words are being they erupt from the mouth of people. It's not really a thought. It's not something you say after you think. Yes, maybe something you thought a month ago, a year ago, or
some point. Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, mostly it's not even thought. It's imitated. I remind people you can see the video on imitation. We almost imitate everything. So there is all. But it is true that once you talk about certain things, it creates. It's trying to create. Remember, the collective does not exist, and the worst is trying to give some materiality, which it can, to something that does not exist. There are no collectives. It only happens in our mind.
Crystal clear. We are out of time already, but you mentioned something in passing there that it caught my imagination. We are describing a dialectic between the collective and the individual and how forces pull me away or towards. But you said something that I think it's the case many times. There is sometimes we go from one collective to another. We're not truly individual, we just shift from one to another, and sleepwalking could occur from one confusion to a different confusion. I think there's something there. Maybe we can go back to this in future videos, but I just wanted to underline it.
I think it's important to understand that since collectives don't exist, first of all, there are infinite collectives possible, because it's like counting. How many numbers are there? Those are exactly the numbers of collectives that could be. And life is very, they're not nearly enough things. We also add, there are without numbers. So this is the issue of collectives. Collectives do not exist. Words that support collective, as I say, do not exist. The only important thing is to understand is that not only you can shift, we can be speaking about different collectives while saying that we're thinking about the same one. That means a collective has no people because there is no collective. Each one of the parts that think themselves of part of a collective see the way they see it, as the way we spoke about God. Everybody has his own image of God. There is no general image. Yes, they try, they put a guy with long hair, or the guy with a big fat guy, or women with 300 hands, or whatever they do. But that's only the way to try to make people, think about the same thing. Not at the same time, but the same thing. So this is about, but this confusion, Florencio, this is the problem with this confusion, is that, of course, the more you think in collective, the less you have a chance to avoid a suffering, because suffering, as you know, is not collective, it's individual.
Right. Great. Very interesting. We'll come back to this, I'm sure. Thank you very much. Okay, see you next time.
I hope you're not confused after this video.
Not at all. Everything is clear now.
Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed the video, please like it, comment and subscribe.